In this video, we'll take a look at how we can organize Unity projects and the code better. So I'm going to start with creating a script, which I'll attach to my camera. It will be called starting resolution. Once I do that, I'm going to use my IDE to open it. Remember, when you use an IDE, make sure it's an IDE that is supported by Unity. It's better if you use an IDE like Writer, which is by JetBrains. It is a very powerful IDE and also integrates very well with Unity. It also takes the editor, or Unity passes its editor features to the Writer IDE, which means that you'll be able to see variables and the values that are passed inside the editor also in the IDE. It'll save you time. Also, it is a good IDE because it's by JetBrains, and JetBrains are very popular, and they also maintain their IDEs very well. They also are cross-platform, which means you can use them on different operating systems. For example, I'm using GNU Linux right now, GNU/Linux, and it's working very well on it. Many programmers are going to tell you that the keyboard is faster than the mouse, and that's the reason why some of the code editors or text editors like Vim are so popular. Over here, we're going to create a camera settings folder, and inside of that, we're going to pass the starting resolution script. This is required so that we can actually use namespaces, and the IDE automatically will help us to make namespaces. This is most likely also available in Visual Studio, I believe. This feature of actually adding namespaces using the IDE, but you can also create your own namespaces. So if I go back to my IDE, which is Writer, you'll see that I can open the script over here, and there's a red line down there. I'm going to hit Alt Enter, and it's going to suggest what namespace should be. So the namespace is camera settings, which will be camera settings. That is the namespace. I also advise using a color scheme, a theme basically, which is going to be easy on your eyes, at the same time highlight or color code well, and allow you to actually take a look or notice or concentrate on the stuff that you actually require. So I use Dracula, but some people also prefer one dark or one dark italic. This is also a very good color theme. So whenever I make a script, I'm going to actually use my IDE to /3 times, and that's going to this is basically an XML block, and this will allow me to tell the programmer what the script will do. So I'll say this script is adjusting the resolution of the game at start. Okay, so since I do not use the one dark theme, I'm going to switch back to my Dracula theme, which I use, which is available for most IDEs in the world. So once I'm here, I'll use my IDE to actually have a start function, and for all functions that you do not use, remember to have the throw new non-implemented exception. That's going to help you in the future to debug games. Over here, I'm going to just set the resolution of the game. Once I've set the resolution of the game, I don't really need anything else, but instead of going back to Unity, I want to stay in the IDE as much as possible. Over here, we're going to start organizing the code. Now in Visual Studio 2019, this is a feature that's available, but on my IDE it's also available, so I'm going to actually make a new directory right here. I'm going to say player control script, player control. I'll write player controls actually. Over here I'm going to add a mono behavior, and I'm going to say player controls, and this is going to automatically actually create this script, and it's also going to attach a namespace. Once I do that again, I'm going to actually start this off with an XML block. I'm going to say a script used to control the player, and like I stated, the mouse is actually stored on the keyboard. Over here I'm going to just start a region, so I'm going to hash region, and I'm going to say variables. I can actually name this anything that I want. Regions are very good, especially if you need to take a look at the outline. So over here in the outline you can see that this variables region is over here, and this is in the structure. Most IDs have this. You can actually take a look at the structure. You can add as many regions as you want. I can go ahead and type region unity functions, and if as soon as I hit save, you're going to say unity functions is over here. Over here I'm going to write a header. I'm going to start off by saying header, and over here I'm going to say player components. Over here I'm going to say rigid body, and I'll always comment this. I'm going to say private rigid body 2D, and now I'm going to say this rigid body, and I'm going to complete this by an underscore to tell that this is a private variable. I'm going to then go ahead and add the rest of the components. I've added two floats here for the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. Another thing that I advise is whenever you're dealing with players or something related to game controls or game management, I believe that you should actually use an enum. So I'm going to say public enum, and I'm going to say player states. And once I say that, it's going to be idle and move state. We're going to change this in the code. I'm going to write here a enum for the various player states. This will help you organize code in the future. I'm going to have a header, and I'm going to say current player state, and I'm going to say current player state. I'm going to write this as a public, because it is, and I'm going to say player states, and I'm going to say idle player states, and I'm going to say current player state is equal to idle, and that's it. So I can do this actually inside the code as well, but it's over here as well. And now I can begin actually writing some code to move a player. So if you have noticed that I've not gone to the editor a single time, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to do everything inside this IDE. Now, of course, you can also set the physics inside the editor, but we're not going to do that because it is going to help you in the future if you do everything within the IDE, because everything will be in one place. Also, like I said, the keyboard is faster. So over here in the awake, we're going to actually take the rigid body. You can also do this in the editor. I have a function called set physics at start. I'm going to say set physics at start here, and I'm going to actually call this function here. There you go. Over here I'm going to take the rigid body, and I'm going to start actually adding in the physics that I want. I don't want any gravity for the purpose of demonstration, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm also going to set the mass, which is going to be 50 for now. And this is it. So I'm actually setting the physics inside the editor, inside the IDE actually, and this is useful because it's faster. And also, if you want to change a value, you can easily change a value over here, and you don't really have to go to the editor and change it. So that's one of the things that I did. Another thing that I will do is I'm going to create an update function inside the Unity function. And there's another thing that I wanted to show here. You can see the structure, you can see that Unity functions and player settings, these all functions are over here, so it's very easy to navigate. You can also go ahead and navigate between all of the variables over here in the structure. You can also go ahead and press F12 to find out because we're using this function only at one place, so we don't really. If you press F12, the most IDEs, in fact even Visual Studio Code has the feature where it can tell you where everything is being used, so that's one thing. So in the update I've written handle states, and I also have a fixed update over here, and the fixed update is going to handle the physics of the game. So what I'm going to do in handle states is I'm going to check the values of the V-axis and H-axis, which I'm going to actually take right now. So what I'm going to do is in the update I'm going to say h-axis is equal to input dot get axis, and I'm going to say horizontal, and then inside I'm going to say y-axis is equal to input dot get axis and vertical right there. And now we can actually handle states. In the handle states I'm going to write some code. Inside this code block I've actually written this. So if h-axis and y-axis are equal to 0, which means if they're 0 we are actually idle, and if these values are not equal to 0, that means we are moving. So this way you can actually handle different codes for different states. Now how do we handle states? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so in this function we have got we are actually calling this in the fixed update. It's called switch case for states. So switch case right here, and I'm going to go ahead and say switch. And when I'm going to say switch, I'm going to write current player state. Now current player state again is being changed over here in the handle states function, which is inside the update. And over here my ID is telling me that the switch states there's something wrong with that. So we're going to take a look. It's going to say generate switch labels, and automatically it generates the switch labels, and I have an idle state and a move state. Over here in the idle state I just want it to be vector 2.0, and this is going to be this rigid body dot velocity, and there we go, is equal to 0 because it's not moving. So that's basically what I want. And the move, I want to move it in the direction of the actual like the input that the player is given. So I'm going to say this rigid body over here, this rigid body dot velocity, and I'm going to say new vector 2, and it's going to be h-axis, and it's going to be the y-axis right there. Okay, and I'm also going to multiply this by movement speed, so it's going to be very fast though, so that's what it's going to be. So this is the code for that. Of course, when I'll test it, it's probably not going to work very well, but in fact for movement speed I should actually put this at 2. And there you go, this is how I organize my code, and you can see that everything is inside the structure, so I can easily see where everything is. I've got everything in regions, and that's how I can actually see where everything is. And it's very well color coded. I'll show the other color code as well that I use. It's this one, but this is like lighter when I need to work, and like the room is very dark. I probably will use this, but I generally prefer Dracula, which is a very good theme. Dracula colorful is also good, except that it also makes the comments a little bright, and I don't like that. But it's colorful and it's pleasant to look at, but after a while the eyes start hurting. So I just use the regular Dracula, which is part of my ID. I know it's also in Visual Studio Code. I know it's also in Visual Studio 2019. But you have to download it in Visual Studio 2019 as a file. It's not there in the marketplace. So now we're going to test the code. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that instead of getting the rigid body, you can also add component rigid body to the game object in order to actually not go in the editor and do it. So right now, if I was in the editor and I had player controls, I also had to add rigid body, but now I don't need to, basically, because I've added it in the script, and it's that rigid body is stored over here. So that's what you can do. You can also actually add a box collider as well, and you can assign properties to it. So we can do that as well, but in fact I'll add a circle collider, and it's not really required, but I'm going to do that because I wanted to show that the power of actually staying in the ID. It'll save a lot of time. So I'm going to say collider, and I'm going to say private circle collider 2D, and I'm going to say this circle collider, and I can actually add this as well. So I'm going to say over here circle collider, and I'm going to say game object dot add component, and I'm going to just add the circle collider over here, and that's it. So I can also change the values in script if I want to before the circle collider, the size and everything. So we're going to hit play and see if it works. So when I hit play, this the rigid body and the circle collider ride automatically, and I believe I can actually move this around. And if you take a look at current player state, it's also changing states, so you can do a lot of things. Like with this, you can also, like, for example, I can change the movement speed and give it a random value per frame, which is going to have an interesting effect. Just for the sake of this demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually change the movement value per frame. So we're here and we're in move, and I'm going to just write over here movement speed is equal to random from Unity engine dot range, and I'm going to give it a value of between 2, and I'm going to give it a value of between 10, so it's going to change each frame. Let's see what this does. And again, I'm going to show the editor. In the editor you can see that there are no components. I'm going to hit play, and you can see that the value is actually changing per frame. Sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster. This is just for the sake of demonstration, and if I'm idle, it changes to idle. So this is how I organize my code. So I can actually go ahead and I can debug these functions as well. I easily know where an issue might occur because it's in different states. This is what I do. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want your game made, please do take a look at my website. Link is in the description. Thank you very much.